right, so let's just have a recap of what we discussed. The cost item in any export transaction or process varies depending on the nature of the product. However, in general, most export costs will include the following: product cost, transport to the warehouse, warehousing itself, transport to the port, freight forwarder, shipping line local charges, freight charge, NXP processing fee, NES fee, logistic fee. These are all the costs. Some other ones include quarantine, sun, NAFDAC, depending on the nature of the item you are shipping, marine and good in transit insurance, inspection fee, certificate of origin fee, fumigation certificate, and phytosanitary certificate. Then bank commission now. Bank commission is no more, bank don't charge again, unless if you are doing maybe a bill for collection, or you are doing a letter of credit. But if you are doing the open account or cash against document, bank don't charge. For interest rate, bank will still charge interest rate if you are using the loan. NSP charge. For those that are familiar with import, for you to import into Nigeria, you open form M. To export out of Nigeria, you open NSP form. And of course, you pay a fee to the bank for the NSP. And remember, VAT is on all these charges. Next fee is paid to the federal government through the bank. It's called the Nigerian Export Supervision Scheme fee, and it's based on 0.5% of the FOB value. 0.5% of the FOB value. What's an FOB value? FOB value is the value of the goods plus profit. You know, if you are shipping from Nigeria, there will be quality and quantity inspection by a government designated inspection agent. Then the logistics. The logistic fee include miscellaneous expenses during loading at the warehouse and offloading at the terminal. Now, I'm not talking about transport here. The fact that you are engaging labor to move goods up and down will mean that sometimes you will have to make some farm available. And the reason for this is because more like a motivation for the labor in the warehouse, basically. I mean, that has been my experience. More than a motivation. So you can call it miscellaneous cost. Then terminal handling charge. This is about 40 for 20 container, and I think 60 for 40-foot container. It's paid to the terminal where the container is being handled or being carried up and down. NAFDAC fee. If you are exporting food-related item, although I heard NAFDAC don't charge, but I don't know what your experience has been. So marine and good in transit insurance. Now, if you are doing any trade transaction, most likely you'll be carrying goods worth hundreds of thousands or probably millions. That means you will have so much risk on the road. If you are carrying goods of that magnitude in cost, I think it's just wise to do insurance. Many people don't do, but when it happens, then you appreciate why you should have done it. So in as much as we don't pray it happen, but we should also ensure that we have insurance for good in transit. Now, for marine, good in transit is the insurance you do for this good moving within Nigeria, either from the manufacturers, from the source to a warehouse in Lagos, or in some cases from the warehouse to the port. So either from the source or from the warehouse to the port, whichever way you do it. So basically saying that as much as possible, we need to imbibe the culture of doing insurance. Marine and good in transit insurance fee. Remember, marine is the one on the sea, whereas good in transit is the one that is happening within the country. We have the certificate of origin. This is issued by NASIMA. The price varies from as low as 5,000 plus to 10,000 plus, depending on the amount on the document. NASIMA is National Association of Chamber of Commerce, Industry, Mines, and Agriculture. Fumigation certificate. If I'm doing agro commodity, number 14 and 15 will be necessary. Fumigation certificate. Now, if I'm doing minerals, I might just do quality inspection certificate. Quality inspection certificate. Fumigation certificate and phytosanitary certificate. Fumigation is by Federal Produce Inspection Service, FPIS, and phytosanitary is by National Agricultural Quarantine Service, NAQS. National Nigeria Agricultural Quarantine Service, NAQS. Now, I'm of the opinion that this look for me like duplication of job. They are both under Ministry of agreed, I presume. But for me, it looked like duplication of responsibility. This responsibility could have been joined together and done together because it's on the same produce. It's on the same produce, but mainly for agricultural produce. But there's some country that if you are shipping to, you will be required to do certificate of origin. Like China, for example, they were certificate of origin. And what's the essence of certificate of origin? Sometimes in some countries, the origin of the good determines the duty payable. Some countries, because they are rich country, they pay large duty. Some countries, because they are not so rich country, they pay low duty. Now, there was this issue some times ago. I think it was with Niger and Nigeria. And a buyer over there was saying that he wanted, and you know, sometimes people will do all sorts of things. So the idea was China will give more duty to Nigeria than Niger. Why? They said that Nigeria is richer. So if I'm shipping the same item from Nigeria to China, I'm shipping from Niger to China. You know, some people shipping from Niger also go through Nigeria. If they have a certificate of origin of Niger, then they will charge less duty. And the buyer I was asking for a price that is lower, that is higher rather, and he said he won't be able to pay that price because he's going to pay that price for Niger because he will pay less duty to clear the goods in China than Niger. So can you see how certificate of origin, which indicate that this good is from Nigeria, because of that, someone is getting a preferential treatment by paying less duty upon arrival at destination. Just to give you a sense of the idea around certificate of origin, why it is required, and why it's necessary, why some people ask for it. Now, regarding NAFDAC certificate, my understanding is that if your product already have NAFDAC number, you're not supposed to have this certificate. But some NAFDAC officers have said you are still supposed to do it, and we've had argument at events on the issue that if you are supposed to come to my factory every now and then to check what I'm doing and to validate I'm in order, why should I also be subjecting the product to? Because what happened is that if I'm exporting Gary, for example, and my Gary does not have NAFDAC, and does not have NAFDAC certificate, I can get NAFDAC export certificate. And what I'm supposed to do is to make sample available to NAFDAC for them to test before they can issue that certificate. Now, which for me is a good idea. The only challenge is that, so for someone that already have his process gone through NAFDAC and the process already certified by NAFDAC, why should he be asked for certificate again? I've had this argument with NAFDAC. I don't know if they have corrected it, but this was an argument we had at an event some years back about the fact that if I already have, although I know that they are not strict about it, even though they say in the books it's supposed to be, but they're not strict about it, maybe because the person already have NAFDAC. So for people that ship through the sea or ship through the air, if the product already have NAFDAC number, they really don't enforce NAFDAC certificates again. I know that for a fact. I know that because I do shipment through the air, and I know we don't have to get NAFDAC certificate for the product we do through the air out of Nigeria. Now, the marine insurance will only be necessary for you if you are doing what is called CIF, cost insurance and freight. What's CIF? CIF is saying that exporter is to bear the cost of marine insurance. So marine insurance, CIF, exporter is to bear the cost of marine insurance. But the good in transit insurance is done locally. Any insurance company in Nigeria can do, I think 0.3, 0.4, 0.5% of the amount. So it's not so much. I think marine also is something within that range, not so much. But fumigation and sanitary will cost you money. I think I can't remember the exact figure now. I've not been doing commodity for a long time because I've been advocate of value-added products. So most of the shipment I've done have been value-added products. So interest rate will be a cost for you if you are sourcing your money from the bank. So look at this. Now let me show you. I will show you different costing element. Look at this. This is assuming you are doing a shipment of zinc. Now, some of the data information there might not be very current, but don't mind the data. But just understand what I'm trying to do because I didn't have time to make them current as at this week when I was doing it. So please just pardon me. Now, this is assuming that I'm exporting zinc or these minerals, 35%. We are going to also do by air, and then we are going to do composite products. So three analysis we are going to do in terms of costing. So look at this. If you look at this costing right now, you will see that product and transport was lumped together to deliver to Lagos. Inspection for 2 containers. This is 25 metric ton each. That's why it's 50 here. Here, 2 containers at the rate of 37,000. Freight forwarding, 2 containers at the rate of 160,000. NXP, 1 NXP to cover them. Net fee, 0.5% of this amount. This is 0.05 actually because of the decimal place on the Excel. That's why it came that. But 0.05, you get this. Port logistics and sampling, terminal handling charge, project monitoring. We're monitoring the project, so we'll check project monitoring. Now, total cost for this, you notice here, there's no warehousing. So that's to tell you that there's some costs that can be avoided. If you look at some of the costs we mentioned here, they are not there. But the freight forwarding already will involve the certificate of origin. Certificate of origin. We already involved it. Insurance will have been inculcated in the transport. Then inspection is here. But what you notice, is that when you look at all the costs that we have highlighted, for every project you do, you're not going to have to deal with all of them. So this is the total cost of the project. This is the gross profit, bank charges, and the profit. Now, let's look at by air. By air, you notice the product cost, the documentation, the freight charge. Can you see freight charge is more than half of the value of the goods itself? Freight charge, and then logistics, moving the goods, and then the shipment. This is for PAP. I do PAP every now and then, and this is the detail for PAP export. Now, if you look at this, you know, sometimes some people say, oh, this happened, this particular shipment, this was an order. We have to come up with this particular pricing model for individuals. Sometimes you have, look at this product now. This buyer request for Indomie, Ukwa, yellow gari, white gari, ground pepper, yellow ogi, brown ogi, or abacha, snail, periwinkle, ojibo, kora osa, bitter cola, aziza, onga, so many things together. So what we recommend is to determine the price of the product, then multiply by 3 to get this. Because if you multiply by 3, some will be profitable, some will not be profitable, but we are looking at the aggregate. That's why it's called composite pricing. Composite pricing. So this is the export proceed. The total of this is here, 288 total. The export proceed is this. That's after sales in Naira. This is going by air. Logistics, freight, and documentation is this. This plus this equals to this. This minus this equals to this. So you can then begin to negotiate depending. This 48%, that's quite high. So if the buyer begins to negotiate, remember this is the total cost price multiplied by a factor, all of them. So that it's just a easy way of calculation, just to make it easier for you to calculate. So if you multiply times 2, if this is high for the buyer, if the buyer feels this is high at times 2, maybe we do 2.5 or times 2 or times 3. We do times 3, but you can do times 2.5 or times 2. But whatever the case is, do your analysis to be sure you're profitable before you finally agree, because they are not going to price each of the products one by one. They're going to give you a bulk pack price.